Hi everyone, and welcome to today's debate. Today we'll be talking about whether technology can save us, specifically in the context of artificial intelligence and its impact on the world. This debate will be led by Jelle, expert ICT standardization at Agoria, and Kristien, client partner at Radix, who will now introduce themselves.
Hello everyone, and thank you for having me, Julia. So I'm Jelle Hoedemaekers, and I work at Agoria. Agoria is the biggest industry federation in Belgium, specifically for the technology industry. And within Agoria, I take care around the topic of AI a lot. Very specifically, I work a lot around ethics of AI, around standardization in the AI field. And on the question, can tech save us? I don't know yet. Maybe we'll see after the webinar. So, no.
And my name is Kristien Verreydt, and I work as client partner at Radix. So at Radix, I'm responsible for client relations and business development. And what we do at Radix is we help companies build AI solutions, whether they're just getting started with AI and they still need help to define the right use case, or whether they already have done multiple proof of concepts that are now looking to scale. And the type of solution we generally want to build together with clients are solutions where AI is in a co-pilot role, so helping people become better at their jobs.
All right, thank you both. So as you know, today we have three central topics centered on the impact of AI on the good of the environment and the humanity. And so for each central topic, there will be several sub-questions that we'll be discussing one by one. They'll appear on the screen and you can take turns in sharing your opinion. Let's start. So first, environmental implications of artificial intelligence. Let's begin with what are the environmental applications of AI in general, and go into its impact and what stops AI from having a larger impact on the environment right now and how we can address that.
Well, that's an interesting one to start, I think. Immediately, when you say environmental implications of AI, I think the tendency is to go negative, to say, oh, but AI will require maybe a lot of energy. But the main point, I think, there is that we need to look at the two sides of the coin. Maybe there are environmental implications of AI. The training of the models can require a lot of energy, but there's also a lot of positive implications. There are a lot of things we can do with AI to help our climate problem, for example. There are huge amounts of data on that. And AI can really help to be the solution to these problems. So yeah, there are positive and negative implications. That's what I think.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think in terms of climate preservation, there is already a lot that AI is currently doing. For example, if you look at wildfire protection, people are already using satellite images to detect where the wildfires are located so they can be extinguished faster and also safer. For example, if they're close to a populated area, they might not be extinct with the same methods as if it were in the middle of the forest. And I think AI can already do a lot there to help people lead a safer and more climate-friendly life.
Yeah, and then maybe on how big the impact is, that's I think a very difficult one, because as Kristien now described, such an application can have a huge impact. But I think this question is a bit situated around the more negative impact. And for me, that's very difficult because this is heavily dependent on the type of use case. If you're, for example, one of the big companies like Google or Facebook developing a totally new model, this can require a lot of energy. But maybe a company like Radix will maybe more retrain algorithms, and in that way it will require less. But the important thing there is that companies and people should be aware that there is an impact, be it big or small. And if you're working in the field, this is something you need to have in mind, and that when you train a model, that this requires energy and that this can have an impact. So how big the impact is not so relevant for me. It's the fact that there is one and that everyone should be aware of it. That's the important point, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's not enough education yet on what the environmental impact of a certain model is and whether there is a greener alternative for that same model. So I think one way in which we could answer to this problem of the largest state-of-the-art models consuming so much energy, having such a large impact on the environment, is by looking at the use case first. So, for example, what kind of accuracy is absolutely necessary for this use case and makes it require such a state-of-the-art model? But it might, in other cases, a slightly lower accuracy and a slightly more lightweight model might work just as well in certain use cases.
No, at that point, it's just also a calculation you need to do. If I train this model, it will take X energy and make the internal consideration if this is worth it to develop it at that point. Maybe the final is what stops AI from having a larger impact on the environment, and how can we address this? You have an opinion on that, Kristien?
Yeah, I'm just thinking. In a lot of cases, we might tend to use a model that's too heavy for the use case that we have at hand.
Yeah, it's a bit difficult one, because what I think we need to do as well is you should not only look at AI in its narrow narrow box, but at that point we have to look to the whole application. We have to run the application on the cloud. And what I immediately think there is that everything has an environmental impact. If you buy avocados in the supermarket, you're having an environmental impact. And if I'm then thinking about, let's say, for example, something like cryptocurrencies, to me, that's a lot bigger environmental impact than developing AI. So it's, again, really depending on the use case, I think.
All right, let's move on to the next section, which is humans and machines together for a better future. Let's talk about what work can be carried solely by machines and which by humans. And in that case, will the machines take our jobs away? And what is the impact on the job market in general?
So I think, starting from a Radix perspective, I already mentioned in my intro that at Radix we believe in AI as a co-pilot. So not replacing human decision-making, but assisting it. And in almost every job role, there are repetitive tasks that can be automated. So I saw a survey from Adobe before, so really focusing on the creative work. And they found that professionals working in creative roles spend sometimes 3/4 of their work week on repetitive, uncreative tasks like administration, opening the right tools, exporting, waiting for the right information to be there. So I think when we help clients identify AI solutions to invest in, we can prioritize those solutions that can reduce the repetitive manual tasks, improve accuracy, or preferably both at the same time. And by taking away some of these repetitive tasks, we can also free up the schedule and the brain space for the person, so that they can spend more time doing the creative, innovative work that they're good at. Or, for example, in the patient or client-facing role, taking time away from the admin work so they can focus more on the meaningful human-to-human interactions.
Yeah, indeed. What I want to maybe put as a comment here is that we should try to define what are these machines, and because if we're talking in the context of AI, we're talking about highly complex digital systems. But basically, this is something we've been doing for all of humanity. Machines, or if in a more broad scope, technology is developed to make our lives easier. And AI is just a next step in that. First, I think we can go way back. We used tools for hunting. We used to hunt with our hands. Now we start making knives, spears, bows. And to me, this is just the next step in our evolution. We as humans always try to be more efficient. Also, we can say we're a bit lazy, maybe. We want to automate the things that we're not good at. So for me, this is just the next development in that process. But on the specific questions, what work can be carried out solely by machines? I'm not sure if this is the right question. We should look really, as you mentioned, Kristien, towards how can machines or how can technology enable us as humans? And in this way, I think all work in a way can be supported by technology. There's very limited work which is done, I think, at the moment, which is not supported by technology. But again, we need to consider how we do this.
Yeah, I really like how you mentioned how we as humans like to use tools, and I think that's an important aspect. That there is probably not a direct one-on-one match between the job of a human at the moment and an AI carrying out this entire job, but it's more like we as humans will use multiple AI tools during our workday.
Oh, indeed, and that leads for me to the second question. Will machines take our jobs away? No, machines are modifying our jobs, and they're not taking anything away. There is a job which needs to be done. Maybe in the past it was done 100% by a human. Now it's a human in support with a machine. That's also something which has been happening for a long time. And we did a study on this within Agoria to maybe make a prediction on the job market for 2030. We calculated that there will be jobs which will be not lost but modified. They will be changed due to technology, but there are also a lot of additional jobs which will be created. So around for every job is lost, I think 3.7 new jobs will be created. So it's a bit of a general misconception, and it comes from a sort of fear of change as well, that there is this view that machines, technology, AI will be taking away our jobs. And this is maybe a bit human as well. We're a bit afraid of new things. We're afraid of change. And in this way, there's a certain resistance towards these machines or technology.
Yeah, I totally agree that it's not just certain jobs will disappear or certain tasks will disappear. That like tasks will disappear or become different in any case. And indeed, there will also be new tasks that we didn't even know existed a few years ago, or like job roles that are completely new that work in support of these machines. And I think that it's also there's an important role for the employer for education to offer the right training to reskill employees to fit the job market better once technology starts, well, let's say, taking over some of the responsibilities of what a human has done up till now.
Yeah, that's a bit the same result we had in our study Be the Change. There, we noticed these jobs will change, but currently we are lacking the competences we have here in Belgium specifically, the digital competences to handle these new jobs. So it's very important that we reskill our workforce, but also that for students, we give them the right tools so that they are ready for this future where they need a lot of digital skills to do their jobs.
Yeah.
All right, great. So then let's move on to the final section and talk about driving AI for good. Let's talk about what does AI for good mean to you personally, and how can we ensure that we don't end up driving AI for bad, whatever that would mean to you?
For me personally, AI for good is a bit of a difficult one, because in stating it in this way, you imply that AI is not always for good, and that you can really make a choice, AI is for good or for bad. So that's for me a bit of the hindsight, but it comes back a bit to the previous question as well. AI is a new technology which is not really well understood by most of the population, we can say. It's something which implies change, and in this way there will be some resistance towards it. People will think these machines will come to take their jobs. And to me, AI for good is the way that we can show that we will use this technology in a correct way. And that's where ethics comes in. For a lot of AI applications, there will not be clear rules or guidance on what you should do in what application. But the fact that we as humans have an ethical compass, and we have our ethical values, this is the thing that will drive AI for good. And so we need to pay a lot of attention, I think, to ethical AI and to ensuring that if we develop AI applications, we take into consideration our ethical values and our ethical compass.
I agree that so when when AI is used right, it can solve different humanitarian environmental issues. But at the same time, it's not just one application of AI that's necessarily good or bad. Like the same application could be used to help, for example, this is something that's very close to my heart, help people with disabilities to be able to navigate the world more self-sufficiently. So actually, my brother grew up with a disability, and like him, there are millions of others who need help every day to be able to do basic things like understand the website, go to the supermarket. And there, I believe that AI can do a lot to help these people become better at the things that they want to do. But at the same time, we also see a lot about the negative implications of, for example, computer vision. So, for example, if we use computer vision to scan faces, we might be able to identify a specific person entering a specific location, and that's not something that we want to do. So I think it's not the solution itself that is good or bad, but it's really trying to find where can we use the solution to help a person do their job better, help a person navigate the world in a way that is that suits them better. But then at the same time, we also need to take care, like, are we using it? Are we not using it to, for example, bring people in danger?
No. Yeah, that's a bit of the general story around technology. It's not the technology in itself, which can be per se bad, it's how we use it. Alfred Nobel didn't invent dynamite as a weapon, he invented it for mining. Yeah, nuclear fission was invented for energy purposes and not to build atom bombs. So in this way, it's always, we have a technology which can have a good impact or a bad impact, but it's our responsibility as individuals and as a society to ensure that this technology is used in a good way for us and for our society.
Yeah, and I think together with that, as companies, we also have the responsibility of communicating well in why the AI solution is used, what kind of data is used, and for which decisions we are using AI and which decisions are still steered by a human.
Yeah, I think there's a need for awareness, but not only now, but also for the future. It's not something we can say, okay, now we create an ethical framework and everything created within this framework is good AI. No, this is a continuous process. We need to, throughout the evolution of AI or throughout the life cycle of AI applications, we need to be aware of what can go wrong. And we need to think about it very actively and continue to develop these applications so that they can be used in a good way.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, this was the final section of today's debate. Thank you both for sharing your opinions on whether can technology save us. I hope it will be also informative and useful for our listeners. Thanks, and have a good day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Julia and Jelle, for the interesting conversation.
Bye-bye.